Yeah.
You joined the Navy because the recruiter called you back. You called
Yeah.
the Air Force and the Navy, and you joined the one that called you back.
Exactly.
And you were smart enough to go in the Air Force. You were strong enough to go in the Air Force. I mean, there's no difference in you. It's a difference in the response from you went with the guy that called you back. In our business, that's so critical. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's so critical.
Wanted the college experience, and I felt like I got slighted in life. I was like, I was supposed to do this. I can't do that. Like, I was so mad. And so I
Yeah.
saw this, I saw everybody around me. It seemed like a lot of people I like wouldn't connect with. I was like, all these people just to go to a community college, it just wasn't for me. I got really upset, and I was like, I was expecting to go to like go around and be like around a bunch of, 18-year-old kids just like me that,
Right.
but I wasn't. I was around kind of like the dropouts of high school. It felt like maybe I'm sure they're all great people, but I was pissed. One of the things I think in society we're lacking today is just the personal
Yeah.
connection. I think that's going to be the downfall of our society is just like detaching from human connection. And so that's what I loved about being in the military was just, hey, we were unplugged the whole time.
His name is Russ. He bought that mic, and now he's got a podcast show.
I think that you have to work hard in hotels, and that's something
Mhm.
with the customer relations. That was always my bread and butter. I mean, I could have a talk with anybody and sit there and, I extended stay hotels, man. I was like, I had them cooking food for me and as I was a college and, kid in college, it's relationships.
You worked at an extended stay?
Yeah. Homewood Suites in
Oh, I'm
college. Yeah.
familiar with that. That's
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Which those
yeah.
people were awesome, man. I mean, you had some weird stuff. You got like gypsy families that were in the asphalt business that, the kids don't go to school and they're just, they're 5 years old laying some asphalt, but they cook some good damn food. So
Oh,
they're cooking
wow.
meals for me and things like that. But it was, I know how to problem solve too. I think that was the biggest thing when I joined
Yeah.
Hayden. He had this group of people that were, they wanted everything done for them. They weren't willing to figure stuff out. Because ultimately, when I joined Hayden, I didn't have training. Hayden was running around with his stuff. It's, here's this, and essentially figure it out. And luckily, I wasn't, from what I had, I was the person who figured stuff out at hotels. I was responsible for that business. I made the decisions for that business, and that what carried in here. And I knew, I wasn't one that, they pay me to manage a business. They look at my P&L. If I'm not meeting their standards on what we, our KPIs for, whether flex and flows or performance based, then you fire me. But I don't need to call my regional manager to ask him something that I can look up on a system or learn how to set up myself by calling somebody else. So when I
Right.
got in here, that was the biggest thing. Obviously, my sales and my ability, I think that's just a natural thing for me is people trust me very quickly when I have conversations with them with my outgoing personality. I'm a chameleon, so I get along with everybody. But really coming into this and I'm not I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of podcasts, educating myself. So it was really hard in the beginning stages of like setting everything up. And then I hear things and I'm like, yo, we should put this into action. This psycho, some bitch right here, like he's crazy. Yeah. Like,
He's
hey,
actually gonna do it.
well, I'm like, I'm not a huge risk taker. Like, he's grown me so much. I owe you a lot. And you know that. I tell you that all the time. Cause like Hayden's like, he gave me this opportunity. I've done the work, but like the rooms he's pushed me to be in, like first time I met you, Russ, man, that was scary as shit. I went into real estate, REI with him. I didn't know anything about real estate. I still decided, and I'm like, I go up to Russ and like start talking, and I hear one little thing about him being from Rocky Mount. I don't know where I heard it from. So I went over there, and that's how I start my conversation. It's exactly what I do when I go and meet sellers for the first
Yeah.
time. I don't talk about the deal. I don't. It's a big
No,
development deal we
it's
got. I went
all
there for
about
free
it's all
house.
about the human connection.
That's it.
And I putting words in your mouth, but I feel like working in the hospitality industry, especially a hotel, it's that human connection of,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
what's happening with this person, what's happening with all the people around. And I think that's been extremely valuable for you in talking to sellers. So let's talk about Hayden a bit
Yeah.
and get to know. I mean, we kind of heard some of your high school experience. Did you go straight from high school to the Navy or
Yeah.
no?
So basically, we did football, we did wrestling. Wrestling was my thing. I was, when I started at that program, we had a new Marine. He was our coach. He was a Marine, super hard headed, just absolute stud, just like a great man. Like up there with
Right.
Steve Irwin. Like there's a couple people in my life. There's my dad. There's Steve Irwin, and there's Coach Carey. Like
I love
that's
it.
fucking it for me. Like I
Yeah.
have very few people that I hold to a high standard.
I love it.
This guy was such a good man that there was 7 dudes on the wrestling team when he started. He comes in, it was my first year at that school and his first year at the school, and then it kinda felt like we built the program from there
Mm,
to where, like, every single year I was from Pennsylvania, which is a big wrestling state, and so I come in and I'm automatically, like, one of the top guys. I was decent, but I come in and I'm a freshman and I'm winning, and that was unheard of, especially with a team of 7 dudes. Like we didn't have a program at all, and so we built it from scratch. Started up a program in the middle school, had them coming up. By our junior year, I was wrestling for the state championship. So in 3 years, our team had grown to over like 50 some people. We won states. As a junior, which was insane. I was wrestling for first and second place as a junior, which was like I didn't have it paved our way. We kind of built it. It wasn't like I walked into some big program. We walked in and we were the underdogs until we weren't. And then we won state. And then I broke my hand my senior year. And this is a funny story. It was in practice. I was ranked number 1 in the state. I was arguably the best in the state. I was like 50 and nobody could even touch me. And I break my hand in practice. I hit my hand on Nick Rottenberry's foot,
I remember
and
your
so I
cast, man.
broke my
yeah.
middle finger in my hand, and there's only a couple weeks or months left to states and stuff, and so I'm like, I'm out for the season, my senior year, best. That really really sucks, and so it's like a week before the regional tournament to actually go to to actually go to states, and I look at my coach, I was like, I think I can do it, like I don't know, like he's like, "Do you want to do this?" I was like, "Let's do this." And so he takes me to I called it a cowboy doctor. And so he had a cowboy hat on. So in order for me to get approved, I had to get the school board's approval to
Right.
actually wrestle with a unhealed broken hand. And so I go to this cowboy doctor and we walk in. He's like, "What do you need me to sign?" Oh, a good old boy, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I get this slip, this medical clearance slip that this guy just signed, didn't even look at me. And then my dad fashions up this cast out of like some type of synthetic material. Like he kind of molds a cast for me essentially.
Yep.
And so I have like this little like thing that I made and it's bandaged up. It's essentially a club. My whole hand was a club. And so I go in and we go to the regional tournament and I win the regional tournament with one hand, which was like for me, like as
Literally with one hand tied behind your back.
yeah, so I'm going into the finals at this tournament, and this guy, my opponent, grabs my broken hand and twists it, and the
Oh,
ref is like, "Whoa, like what the like?" And so that's like what I had to overcome. And so you talk about mindset and
Yeah.
different things. I think I was supposed to go through that experience instead of
yep.
me just sweeping it and winning first and having a cakewalk all the way to the podium. I had this obstacle in my way, and I always say that was one of the best things to happen to me because in order to like get ready for that tournament, I had to lose 18 pounds in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So in wrestling, like it's all about weight
And you were
and constant
already
every
fit,
single
so it's not like you were a fat
They
guy
they
who had to lose weight.
They put a plastic bag on me, they roll me up into the mat like a hot dog, and they put heaters on both ends and they bake me. And so I'm getting cooked alive so that I can lose all this weight. And so I lost 18 pounds in 3 days. I win first at regionals. I go on, I ended up placing like 3rd in the state with one hand, which was
Oh my
just
god, that's
so
incredible.
humbling. And it was such a better so much of like a better experience for me because I sat there when they were doing the parade of champions and I was naming every single person out on the podium that I had beaten or pinned or like severely won against. And I was like, oh, like I clearly would have won, but it's okay. Like this is how it was supposed to be. And
Yeah,
so
sometimes circumstances prevent us from being exactly where we want to be,
yeah,
and that's where this learned optimism and the determination comes in.
yeah,
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
yeah.
awesome.
And I needed that. I think I needed that to humble me, and then set
Yeah.
me up for the next stage of my life. And so then I also wanted to go to NC State. I wanted to be a landscape architect.
Yeah.
And that the year I went to apply, it was my whole plan. That was my only plan. Landscape architecture, NC State, everything was good. I had decent grades, whatever. And the year I applied, they dropped my major. And so I'm like, okay. So that was the only a college in North Carolina that offered that major. And so
Wow.
I was like, well, now I have to go out of state. So I went to Clemson here in South Carolina. I went to Virginia Tech. I love Virginia Tech, but turns
Yep.
out, like you said, $100,000 to go to school. And I wasn't
Yeah.
smart enough to get a full ride. I wasn't poor enough to get any type of assistance, but I didn't make enough money to actually be able to afford it. So I was
Right.
right there in the middle class sweet spot where I looked up, I couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
so we're like, well, let's do community college for 2 years. And so I go, I apply, I get my books, and then I go to the first day of class and I walk in and there's this probably 35-year-old Hispanic lady sitting next to me with grass on her sneakers that she clearly like just got off of a job. Like she might have been a landscaper. I don't know, but I judged her. I was like, and for me, I was like, I wanted the college experience and I felt like I got slighted in life. I was like, I was supposed to do this. I can't do that. Like I was so mad. And so
Yeah.
I saw everybody around me. It seemed like a lot of people I like wouldn't connect with. I was like, all these people just to go to a community college, it just wasn't for me. I got really upset and I was like, I was expecting to go to like go around and be like around a bunch of, 18-year-old kids just like me that,
Right.
but I wasn't. I was around kind of like the dropouts of high school. It felt like maybe I'm sure they're all great people, but I was pissed. And so that day I dropped out. I go to my dad and I was like, I'm joining the military. I was like, I don't care. No, I'm not doing that. And so I made that
Yeah.
decision one day with zero plan. I was like, I'm going to join the military. So I just thought to myself, I don't want to get shot at. And so I'm not going to go to the Marines or the Army. And I was like, well, let's go walk in. I walked into called the Air Force, called the Navy. Air Force didn't call me back, but the Navy did. And so I tested, got,
There's a nugget. There's a nugget right there.
yeah,
You joined the Navy because the recruiter called you back. You called
yeah,
the Air Force and the Navy, and you joined the one that called you back.
exactly.
And you were smart enough to go in the Air Force. You were strong enough to go in the Air Force. I mean, there's no difference in you. It's a difference in the response from you went with the guy that called you back. In our business, that's so critical. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's so critical about seizing opportunities. The Navy recruiter, I assume it was a recruiter,
Yeah,
called you and said, "Hey, man, let's talk."
exactly.
Air
I went
Force
in.
was silent.
That's exactly what it was.
Yep.
Just call me back. So I went in,
Yep.
tested like a 90 something, probably like 96 on the ASVAB, which is, they're like, oh my God, because
Yeah.
they're used to a bunch of brain dead kids walking in there. And so,
Yeah.
got a high score. They're like, hey, you could be a Navy SEAL or you could be a nuclear rate, a nuke is what we slang call them. And so, I was like, I had my fun as a wrestler. I don't want to do a Navy SEAL.
Right.
I don't need to. That's not for me. I have hung
Right.
those shoes up literally and figuratively. I am done with the
Yeah.
torture some days, and it was so tough. But I made it through. I was lucky enough to push it through. There was some touch and go moments where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to pass this test or whatever it is. And I graduate, and then I go to my first duty station, which was on the West Coast. I essentially just looked at, my family. I was like, well, I haven't experienced the West Coast. I've only been on the East Coast and I know
Right.
I know what that's like. I would love to, explore, see if
Join the Navy, see the world, right?
who
I mean,
knows,
that's the
maybe I'll
point.
like California, maybe I'll like Washington or Seattle or who
Yeah.
knows, And so, well, I get stationed in basically Seattle, Washington on the USS Nimitz, which is the carrier. Went there and it's the oldest aircraft carrier in its class. It's like 50, 60 years old or some shit. And so I go there, we train on that, we get her fixed up, and then we go on some deployments, drop some bombs, go to war. It was super fun. I mean, I absolutely loved going out and launching the
Playing war.
bombs, doing what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I bet that was cool.
Yeah. And so I did that and then came back here and then I could talk for hours on kind of, what that went like from there. But I
Well,
came back and got a knack for real estate from there. So yeah.
so what's fun in the Navy look like, or funny stories about Navy
Oh,
life?
and
Apparently beating the shit out of each other.
it's bad. Yeah, no, like you're not supposed to talk about hazing, but we hazed each other, So it's like there's let's decide where I'm gonna draw the line here. So basically for any major event in our little community, people we would celebrate. And so like if somebody graduated or somebody had a birthday, we would would beat them up essentially, like not literally beat them up, but we'd like punch their legs and, just rough them up a little bit,
Right.
So, it was definitely on the borderline of like camaraderie versus not, and so,
Hey,
so
in college,
I,
I got accidentally put in the hockey dorm,
yeah,
and my roommate was the center on the football team, and he and I were random, and it was like a war. And we didn't really hurt each other, but pretty close. I mean, it
yeah,
was, as you said, roughing somebody up.
yeah,
And I love the military. I mean, we just did it as a blind ambush, but the fact that it was done for a purpose, like, oh, you've made this accomplishment, you're going to get roughed up.
yeah.
I like that. I mean, it's a
It definitely
weird
made
male,
us
it's a
made us
weird male
extremely tight.
bonding thing.
It was definitely we were extremely tight with each other. We had some of the best relationships I've ever forged, or obviously
Yeah,
are
I
there.
love
And
it.
then the one takeaway from deployment among all the crazy shit that happened was connection. I
Yeah,
think was there's no such thing as phones and like social media. I mean, there was, but like you had to go to the office, and then us enlisted folk only had certain hours of usage for the internet. I mean, we're out at war.
Yeah.
We're dropping bombs. So you can't
right,
just
right.
log into Facebook, and so we did have internet access, but you'd have to log in at like midnight or something. And so like you're
Yeah,
fighting everybody in your division to go log in, and so you didn't. Everybody just disconnected. Moral of the story is everybody was just disconnected from their phones, and they were forced to interact with each other. And which I loved that. And I
yeah,
loved connecting with people that you fortunately or unfortunately were forced to talk to. And
right.
so I was the senior person on like my watch station, and I was in charge of, 10 different kids. And I have to sit there for 4 to 6 hours and talk to these people, and so
Yes.
nothing else to do but talk about whatever we can talk about for 6 months straight, or the same watch team for 6 months. We're sitting there sometimes twice a day for 6 hours a day, on watch together. We're just looking at a gauge, looking at a couple things, like doing our log
Yeah.
set, whatever it is. And so you make really, really deep relationships with people. You create games, you do these fun things. We sit there and we play poker. We did so. I learned how to cut hair. I became a barber, and so I just had
Really?
it was
I did not know that about you, Hayden.
I
yeah.
didn't either.
Yeah, so if
Love
you
it.
need a nice little fade, I can fade you up and give you a
I love
nice
a good fade. Let's
haircut. Oh,
go.
yeah, that's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
Yeah, bro. Same.
but that's one of the things I think in society we're lacking today is just the personal
Yeah.
connection. I think that's gonna be the downfall of our society, is just the detaching from human connection. And so that's what I loved about being in the military, was just, hey, we were unplugged the whole time.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm hearing from both of you a lot of excellence, a lot of struggle, a lot of things that you thought were going to work out that didn't work out. And that's real life, folks. It's a lot of shit that I hoped would work out didn't work out. And how do you carry that into what you do today?
Went to a bar, refused to shine. I didn't buy no beer and said, I'll tell you what, my name is Russ, and I'm on the mic. So listen to my podcast show.